fuck them anyway.
Dr.
Meriden,
Cox.
Connecticut. All right, there you go.
Dr. Adam Cox is calling in any moment now. His book is called No Mind Left Behind. This is something that our listeners are very, very interested in.
Are they?
Yes.
Yes, they are.
It's a fine book and has a lot of tips for your children. Let's say hi to Dr. Cox right now on the Opie and Anthony Show. Dr. Cox.
Yeah, hi. How are you?
Good. Welcome to the Opie and Anthony Show.
Hey, I'm glad to be with you guys.
Yeah, we see that your book is called No Mind Left Behind.
Right.
What would you say the basic gist of the book is?
The basic gist of the book is that there are millions of kids being diagnosed with what's called ADHD, which is almost a very outdated concept.
Right.
Yeah, the idea is that, a lot of these kids are really having problems with things that go beyond hyperactivity and inattention. And one of the problems in the United States is that we got so many kids being over-medicated with this psychiatric medication. And if you're a poor kid in the United States, you're a lot more likely to be medicated with this stuff than if you're lucky enough to come from a wealthy family.
Well, that's easy to say, Doctor, but do we have hard numbers?
Well, I think that the numbers are coming in, and I think that what it's all about, the reason for that is that if you come from a wealthy family, there's a good chance you either go to a private school or at the very least your family has access to expensive doctors who can give you the kind of information and guidance that maybe limit the amount of medicine that you're on, or
yes, but Dr. Cox, I understand that, if I may interrupt, but isn't that just survival of the fittest? Shouldn't the most wealthy of the families be the ones that really do get... I mean, the world needs ditch diggers too, Well,
I certainly hope that's not the case. And let me tell you, to be honest, I was one of these expensive doctors for a lot of years, and I just got sick and tired of the double standard in children's health care. I get sick and tired of seeing so many kids unnecessarily on this medicine when there were things that schools and families could do to help these kids get their brains wired in the right direction.
So, Adam... is it really possible to immunize a child or teenager for STD?
I really have no idea if it's possible to immunize a teenager for
immunize. What's that word again?
Immunization?
Immunization.
Yeah,
right.
Immunization. You might remember it from way back when you got a shot when you were a kid.
Sure.
But the deal is that there are things that you can do. It's like, it's like a parent or a teacher is the conductor of an orchestra. There are ways that we can intervene with kids to actually rewire their brains to limit the extent to which they have these problems with focus, with problems with self-control.
Adam, if I may, not to interrupt, I don't like to, but it sounds good, but I have to take issue with you here. If you have, again, our experiences may be different. Page 148, I call your attention to. Emotional obstacles to living the considered life. Now, you say here some kids have trouble applying the skills they possess in high-profile situations, performing in public. And the example you give, Adam, if I may, Moira finds an excuse to drop out of a play at the time, last minute, because she hasn't learned her lines.
Right.
Yet she knows the lyrics of approximately 200 songs by heart. Eric is halfway through his college application but hasn't written his essay on time to apply to his top school. Eric says he forgot to check the deadline, and besides, their football team stinks. Elaborate, if you would.
Well, the deal there is that a lot of kids have anxiety and they freeze up at moments when they really got to perform. Hey, guys like you don't understand that because you guys are so good at this.
Exactly, and from wealthier families.
Yes.
What's that?
And from wealthier families.
Everyone at this table.
I have noticed people from wealthier families are just a nicer... people to hang around with.
And shouldn't we, I mean, if it's going to make a ditch digger, just like Aldous Huxley's Brave New World.
Yes.
You know what? Medicate the dumb. If they're if that's their lot in life is to pump my gas, why not give them pills that make him
happy doing just that?
Do you want their brains rewired so they're hyper aware of their lowly lot on this planet for 70 years?
Doctor, what do you think about giving drugs to people just to make them happy in their misery?
Like the same way beer makes a baseball game good, should we not give them drugs that will make a life of servitude?
Dr. Stanhope's making a good point here, sir.
Well, I I think that the critical issue is that no matter what your job is in life, you want to have a sense of confidence and a sense of, that you have found your way and you're feeling satisfied with what you're doing. So, the medicine is not necessarily always a bad thing, but the point is that there's a lot of ways that are healthier to get to that same point of feeling like you can focus, of feeling like you can perform up to your ability without being dependent upon that medicine.
So, but you're saying sometimes the medicine is okay.
Yeah, I think
you're being glib. You're just being glib.
Demonizing medicine is like, not a good idea because medicine helps some people, and I make that point in the book as well. It's just that if we do things for kids before they reach that critical age, and guys, it's age 12, and let's be also clear that it's boys that are the target of this because boys get diagnosed with these problems 4 or 5 times more frequently than do girls.
Well, that's because women are really still second-class human beings. Men are still the people getting stuff done. If a girl's not concentrating, all she needs to concentrate on is feeding a baby.
Hey, let me tell you that one of the big things that science has contributed to understanding why boys are on this medicine is that if you look at the brain of a boy while he's paying attention in class, it's doing fine when someone's talking directly to him. And
why would you look at the brain of a girl? Who cares?
Well, girls have a knack for listening so much better than do boys, and it makes a huge difference in terms of how they perform in school.
Interesting. Why is that? I don't even see how that could be. Aren't we all the same?
Imagine it this way, guys, and it's not just listening, but it's memory.
Right.
If you had to give somebody a list of 12 items that you wanted to get at the grocery store, would you rather that person be male or female?
It didn't matter as long as they didn't have Down syndrome.
Well, that could be true.
If that person's female, they're going to do a much better job of remembering because we guys remember almost only things that are important to us as individuals. So we guys are like computers for sports scores. All this kind of, our favorite snack foods, but it's a problem in school.
So if we're going to the tranny store, you send Jim Norton.
Yeah. Dr. Cox, we got a lot of parents listening to our show right now. Let's get to the very important question here from your book. What should parents do if their child's teacher or family doctor says the child has an STD?
Well, it's not an STD. It's ADHD that we're talking about. And if somebody says that your child has ADHD, the first thing you should get
ADHD,
guys.
Oh, what's that?
Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder.
Oh, that makes this a little different.
You might have heard of it. It's been in the news a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
What has?
The first thing you should do is get a professional evaluation because some kids have food allergies or a learning problem or something else.
And that can make them seem stupid.
And the second thing you should do is make it easier for kids to focus and remember. Like if they're in a classroom where there's a lot of distraction, if they're near a window, if they don't hear, if they're having some other kind of problem, you got to make sure that these kids have some way to focus that's easier for them.
Doctor, I understand, but what about a good old-fashioned, raised in the 50s and 60s, smack in the face?
Absolutely a bad idea.
Why?
Because,
Let me tell you something. I know how I was raised. I know how generations of people were raised in this country. It was called discipline. It was called getting the strap. It was called getting a backhand across the face if you didn't shut up. If you were hyperactive or had attention deficit. Let me tell you, if my attention wasn't on something that it was supposed to be, I got a smack across my face. All of a sudden, I'm paying attention to what I was supposed to pay attention to.
It's called discipline.
Doctor, discipline. Comment?
Yeah, you were discipline counts, but here's the thing.
Oh,
we moralize about these problems.
Yes.
And we say, hey, this kid isn't trying hard enough. He doesn't care enough. He doesn't feel it, deep enough. And it's baloney because the problem is that he's got a brain problem. And if we don't do something to help his brain work in an optimal way, all the discipline in the world, that's going to scare him. You may contain him for a few minutes, but you're not going to get him to improve.
About the brain, my dad got to mine by having it shaken up against my skull a few times. And I seem to be a normal fucking guy.
I guess the jury's still out on that.
Well, hey, you want to take a few?
Come on now. Let's keep it fair. Let's keep it fair.
If you only knew, Doc. Can you take a few calls from our listeners?
I'd be happy to.
All right. We got Mike in Houston. You're on with Dr. What's your
Dr. Cox.
Adam Cox.
Oh, Adam Cox. I forgot. I'm sorry. Mike, go ahead.
So the next.
Yeah, I thought I want to talk to the large Dr. Cox. I got this problem. I go to a public toilet and I freeze up, and as soon as I get out, I shit myself, and it's so embarrassing. And I just wonder if it has anything to do with my dad peed in my mouth a couple of times when I was little.
Oh, that's not a real question.
Man, boy, I don't know. I think that's a complex problem that can't be unraveled on the air in just a few short minutes.
I think we were just goofed. I think we were just goofed.
Sorry, I believe we were goofed there.
I think that was one of those listeners of one of those shock jock stations.
I apologize.
Let's go to Barry in Seattle.
Hey, Doc Cox. I have a chubby little son named Eric, and I want to know if STDs play a role in his diet as far as eating mayonnaise a lot than his thinner brother.
Again, that goes beyond my expertise because I'm a psychologist. I know about ADHD, but not STDs.
ADHD he was talking about with his little fat kid, Eric.
What's ADHD?
ADHD is the virus that causes STDs.
Right.
Oh.
Is it?
That's a link I'm unaware of, but I suppose there's a possibility.
What is the ADHD? What is that?
Advanced
ADHD
Human Immune...
Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder.
Didn't it just used to be called ADD?
Yeah, but we've done away with that term now. The American Psychiatric Association now just uses this term ADHD, and it basically uses that as the term to describe people who are just inattentive, as well as those people that are not only have trouble focusing, but also are
the American Psychiatrics. Why would you listen to a group of crazy people and what they say?
Exactly.
On the phone, we got Paul. Paul, you got a question for Dr. Cox.
Hello, Dr. Cox. Doctor?
Hi.
How do you feel about spanking a child? Like you pull down their trousers and you slide down their underpants and you put them over in your lap and you give them a good spanking.
It's a bad idea generally to spank
Why?
Kids.
But it feels good.
It humiliates them, and usually it's boys that end up getting spanked, and one of the worst things we can do with young kids is humiliate them.
But we all got spanked as children, Doc.
Sure.
Well, sometimes you give a very young child a short, light spank when they're going to do something that, like, run out into the street where they could really be at risk. But when we spank kids that get older than 3 or 4 years old, and we do it in a punitive way, and we humiliate them, and unfortunately, we grow up to resent the people that spanked us like that.
Did the senior Mr. Cox spank you, Doctor?
I think when I was a very young child, I probably got a couple of spankings.
And you grew up to be a successful psychiatrist. Are you a psychiatrist or psychologist?
A psychologist.
So you can't prescribe any drugs, right?
That's right.
Oh, damn. All right. We really don't need to continue with this call. I was hoping to get a contact. I'm teasing, of course. Humor is part of the program. Dr. Cox, ADHD. Yeah, what does that stand for?
Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder.
I got an observation here. It seems like you know a lot about this subject. What are you going to do with all this info?
Well, what I've been on is a crusade across the United States talking to schools and families, communities, about how we can intervene
now,
with
when you say
kids.
crusade, are you trying to wipe out Muslims?
No. My crusade is against a pharmaceutical industry that has committed itself to over-medicating kids.
Why travel the country when you could write a book on the subject?
Well, I've decided to do both, so it's really working out well.
Hold on, Dr. Cox.
Wait, he's got a book on the subject.
Oh, cool. I think he's working on it.
I just want to make sure we get this out.
You're working on a book as well, Dr. Cox?
Well, the book is out. You've got it there. No Mind Left Behind.
Oh, this?
And the 8 essential brain skills every child needs to thrive. Hey, and by the way, guys, if somebody actually wanted to find out what these 8 brain skills were and whether their kids were up to snuff or not, on my website, dradamcox.com, DRADAMCOX.com, there's a checklist. You can check it out and find out for yourself if your child might be having a problem with one of these 8 skills.
Yeah, but if they are you suggesting that we try to raise super kids?
No, I'm so glad you asked me that because sometimes people say, are we trying to raise these kids who are like, super productive and super efficient? Well, not really, but if we don't try
What's
to
the
like
number one reason these kids are prescribed medication?
Is because they have behavior problems.
And how should someone handle a teacher who insists a child should be on Ritalin?